OnePlus has championed an entire brand image based off of one simple consumer aspect that dictates just about everything buyers look for: money. Less money to be exact. For years, OnePlus was the flagship killer, and they rightfully competed for that title year in and year out. That is, until they graduated into the premium pricing segment with the OnePlus 8. In order to try to capture that segment of the market again, OnePlus has incorporated this new N line of phones. And here is the N10 5G, which OnePlus sells on T-Mobile for $299. Let's take a look and see if the N10 can capture some of that flagship killer magic. And unlike past OnePlus devices with lower price tags, there is an immediate compromise with the processor of the N10. Instead of the highest Qualcomm chipset, the N10 is by all means a traditional mid-range device using a Snapdragon 690 5G chip. It's backed by 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage with micro SD card support. Those are first specs for a phone that retails for $300. The display we'll be looking at here is 6.49 inches of 1080 by 2400p. That's an IPS panel good for 406 ppi. It's also 90 Hz refresh rate, which isn't as common in this price range as on the more premium segments. So when you put that all together, I'd say it isn't a disappointing package at all, but much in line with what you could get from competitors within this price ballpark. Don't go into this expecting flagship killer specs of old for rock bottom prices. With that said, I'm expecting a pretty solid user experience thanks to OnePlus's Oxygen OS software mapping over Android 10. It's one version behind, but Oxygen OS is as clean of an Android experience as you'll get not from a Google product directly. Right out of the box, the minute you pull the phone out, the first thing you notice is how kind of cheap feeling this phone is. You know, we're so used to OnePlus and their superb design language or the materials that they use for the price that we purchase these phones at. You kind of forget that this is actually just a $300 phone because you're expecting OnePlus to have some sort of really nice solution for the budget range. But it is plastic, and it feels plastic, and you feel fingerprints all over this phone at the minute you pull it out. It's a little hollow too. So I was kind of hoping for a little higher build quality, but the minute I pulled it out, I realized, okay, I gotta realign my expectations here. Rounding up the features, the N10 uses USB Type-C 2.0 to charge and transfer data. That's always great to see on a $300 phone. There's also a rear-mounted fingerprint scanner that's familiar to many Android users. Also on the back of the phone are a whopping 4 camera sensors. The big one is a 65-megapixel f1.8 wide sensor, followed by an 8-megapixel f2.3 ultra-wide, a 2-megapixel f2.4 for depth, and 2-megapixel f2.4 macro. And while more doesn't necessarily mean better, it is impressive to see 4 sensors on a budget phone. We'll let you know in our full review how the cameras on this phone performs. Finally, the battery powering all of this is a 4,300 milliamp hour one, and that supports 30-watt fast charging. The numbers look good, but we'll have to rely on everyday use to really determine if this is a battery champion. All in all, from a freshly out-of-the-box point of view, the N10 5G seems to be a solid entryway into the 5G network. Hopefully the clean Android experience of OnePlus phones and the generous sized battery can make this phone a OnePlus consumer champ once again.
So the other day I went to the market and I saw a bunch of people with their iPhones just checking their grocery lists. And I told them, hey, you should subscribe.